This is my visual essay on horror movie tropes as portrayed in Scary Movie. Scary Movie, from the year 2000, is a satirical comedy about teenagers who get stalked by a masked killer exactly 1 year after they hit a man with their car. It's directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans and written by Sean Wayans, Marlon Wayans, and Buddy Johnson. It's starring Anna Faris, Marlon and Sean Wayans, Regina Hall, and even Carmen Electra. The plot is made up almost entirely by combining and spoofing other horror movies. A fun fact is when producer Bo Zenga first received the idea for Scary Movie, the title was Scream If You Know What I Did Last Halloween. There are 5 films in the franchise. The director, Keenan Ivory Wayans, is an American actor, comedian, and filmmaker. Born June 8, 1958, in New York City. Best known for creating and hosting the award-winning show In Living Color. Known for writing and directing White Chicks from 2004, Little Man from 2006, and I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker from 1988. Part of a famous family and notoriously works as a team with his brothers Sean and Marlon, as well as other members of his family. Here's a quote from Carmen Electra on working with him. There was a moment where I answered the phone and it was actually Keenan on the other end of the line. He said, just go with it. Answer me with whatever I ask you. So sometimes he would say this, or say that, or try this, or try that. And he would just play around. That was what was really cool about working with a director like Keenan. He knows how to get out of you what he wants that scene to be like. The first film we're going to talk about is Scream from 1996. Scary Movie is mostly spoofing Scream, a 90s horror film that follows a teenage girl and her friends as they're being stalked by a masked killer a year after the murder of her mother. Directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. Stars Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, and many more. The characters in Scary Movie are named after the characters in Scream. So we have Cindy Campbell and Sidney Prescott, Gail Hailstorm and Gail Weathers, Bobby Prince and Billy Loomis, Doofy Gilmore and Dewey Riley, Drew Decker and Casey Becker. Both films have an unnamed killer that wears the same exact mask. Scream is one of the most popular film franchises that utilize the final girl trope. Here we have some pictures showing the similarities between some of the scenes in both films. So on the left, we have Billy and Stu revealing to Sidney that they are the killers. Scary Movie then recreates the scene with Bobby and Ray revealing that they are the killers to Cindy. In the middle, we have Billy shooting his friend Randy, and Scary Movie recreates this with Bobby shooting his friend Shorty. Finally, on the right, we have Scary Movie remaking this scene of Tatum trying to escape the killer in the garage by going out the doggy door. Both movies start with nearly identical scenes. A woman gets a mysterious call from the killer while she's making popcorn and getting ready to watch a movie. The person on the phone insists on playing games with her. By the end of the scene, the girl fails to get away from the killer and is killed. The only difference is one scene is funny and one scene is scary. Drew Barrymore talks on Casey Becker in the famous Scream introduction as well as the final girl trope. In the horror film genre, my biggest pet peeve was that I always knew the main character was going to be slugging through at the end, but was going to creak by and make it. And that's nearly what happens in the opening moments of Scream. What I wanted to do is take that comfort zone away, she said. I asked if I could be Casey Becker so we would establish this rule does not apply in this film. Carmen Electra plays Drew Decker in Scary Movie. Barrymore's name was used to draw audiences in to watch Scream, as Carmen Electra's name was brought in for the role of Drew Decker for the same exact reason. Here's a quote talking about Carmen Electra playing this character. As the killer, Dave Sheridan in the white mask stalks Carmen Electra's Drew Decker, named after Drew Barrymore, of course. She's led through her McMansion out to a nonsensical obstacle course with gags skewering Scream's satirical absurdity and Carmen Electra's own reputation as a staple of Playboy magazine. In Scream, Sidney Prescott is known as the final girl. The final girl trope is when a girl defeats the villain single-handedly at the end of the movie, and this is almost always a girl. Carol J. Clover, a film theorist, came up with the term in her 1992 book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws. The final girl typically has traits of what a conservative individual thinks women should be: smart, virginal, innocent, clever, witty. Other notable final girls are Laurie from Halloween, 1978, Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, Julie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997, Sally, The Chainsaw Massacre, 1974, and Maxine, X, 2022. Is the final girl trope effective? I think it is sometimes. The final girl trope was derived from misogyny way back when it was first created. Despite the fact that the women win in the end, it's always based on the type of girl that embodies everything a man would want from her, like Laurie from Halloween. For example, being a virgin, sexually repressed, and innocent. Nowadays, we have started to stray away from that narrative, showcasing a woman's survival without the unnecessary stereotypes put on her, such as Maxine from X. I think if the trope is done right, it can provide an engaging film with a strong female lead that everyone can root for. The next film we're going to talk about is I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997. This is another movie that was hugely spoofed by Scary Movie. It is a 90s horror film about a group of teenagers who run over a fisherman with their car and dump him in the water. Later, they are stalked by someone who claims to know what they did. The film being directed by James Gillespie and written by Kevin Williamson, the same guy that wrote Scream. It stars Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., Jennifer Love Hewitt, and Ryan Phillippe. Scary Movie, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, made it a main plot point that the teenagers hit a man with their car and throw him into the harbor. Except in Scary Movie, they make it ridiculously obvious that he is still alive. Also, like in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the group gets notes from the killer saying that he knows what they did, and they also end up suspecting that the killer could be their victim. Cindy makes a comment about being played by Jennifer Love Hewitt if she was in a horror movie, which is the very actress that she's spoofing. And the killer picks off each character in this movie one by one because they refuse to stick together. Here we have 4 side-by-side pictures showing similarities in different scenes of both movies. First, on the left, we have Cindy from Scary Movie recreating the scene of Julie from I Know What You Did Last Summer, where they're both yelling, "What are you waiting for?" in a desperate attempt to stop the stalking killer. Next, we have the recreated shot of the teenagers getting out of their car with a flashlight to check on the man that they had just hit. Next, Buffy and Greg from Scary Movie recreate the scene of Helen watching Barry getting murdered by the killer at her pageant. Finally, we have Greg from Scary Movie recreating the scene of Barry finding a Polaroid from the killer in his gym locker after he finishes working out. The trope that we're going to talk about now is splitting up. The splitting up trope is exactly what it sounds like, when the characters in the film decide it's a good idea to split up. This typically allows the killer to pick each person off one by one. They even make fun of this trope in Scream. It's derived from Fred's phrase in the Scooby-Doo series, "Let's split up, gang." Other examples are The Cabin in the Woods from 2011, The Thing from 1982, House on Haunted Hill, 1959, Fright Night, 1985, and Claude from 2017. Is the splitting up trope effective? I don't think so. In my opinion, the splitting up trope is cheesy in a horror movie. Nowadays, with all the complex horror movies we have, I think that it's a cheap way to give the killer a clear opportunity to kill. I appreciate a more thought out and intricate plot. The splitting up trope is outdated and gives too much away too fast. The next film that we're going to touch upon is The Blair Witch Project from 1999. The Blair Witch Project is a found footage film following 3 students who travel to film a documentary about a murderer known as the Blair Witch. It's directed and written by Eduardo Sanchez and Daniel Myrick, starring Ray Hentz, Joshua Leonard, and Michael C. Williams. The scene in Scary Movie that spoofs the Blair Witch Project shows Gail Hailstorm, a news reporter, filming herself after her cameraman is killed as she's being attacked by the killer at the Lover's Lookout. The real scene exhibits Heather filming herself in her tent as she is terrified and hearing sounds from the forest. A fun fact is the realism of this film left many people to believe that the actors were actually dead. When the film first came out, Ray Hentz's mother even received sympathy cards for her loss. The next trope that we're going to go into is the found footage trope. Found footage films are movies that were filmed to resemble actual found footage from real events despite being fictional. It's a way to utilize a low budget. It's been used as far back as the 1970s, although the Blair Witch Project made it very popular. It's frequently used for films outside of the horror genre as well. Examples include Paranormal Activity from 2007, Lake Mungo from 2008, Evil Dead Rise from 2023, Unfriended from 2014, and The Sacrament from 2013. Is the found footage trope effective? It depends. If the found footage trope is used right, it can be effective. On the other hand, it can also come off as cheesy and elicit cheap jump scares. It works best for films that are specifically centered around the use of a camera or technology like the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. But in a film like Evil Dead Rise, it felt like a desperate attempt to elicit fear from jump scares. The final film that we're going to go into depth about is The Usual Suspects from 1995. The Usual Suspects is a 90s crime thriller following a conman named Kent that convinces the police that a criminal named Kaiser Soze is responsible for a multi-million-dollar heist despite it being himself. It's directed by Bryan Singer and written by Christopher McQuarrie. It stars Kevin Spacey, Gabriel Brin, Kevin Pollak, Chaz Palminteri, and Stephen Baldwin. At the end of the movie, Dave drops his coffee as he realizes that Kent has fooled him. The cup reveals the name that Kent has evidently lied about. At the end of Scary Movie, Cindy drops her mug to reveal it says Doofus. Doofy is revealed to be the killer. Kent also reveals that he was pretending to be crippled the whole time, as Doofy reveals that he was pretending to be special needs the entire time. Scary Movie recreates the shot of Kent smoking a cigarette upon his release from the police station with Doofy as he's also leaving the police station. The next trope that we're going to go into is the twist ending. The twist ending trope is when the plot of the film is building towards a specific ending, but at the last minute turns in a different direction. In some cases, such as The Usual Suspect, you could call it evil all along. It is used in films of all genres, not only horror or thrillers. Examples are The Sixth Sense from 1999, Scream from 1996, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920, The Wailing from 2016, and Primal Fear from 1996. Is the twist ending trope effective? Yes, but generally speaking, I think this is one of the most commonly used tropes and one of the most effective. No matter how many times a twist ending is used in a film, it also impresses and stumps audiences. However, when overused in a series such as The Twilight Zone, the audience comes into the film knowing how the ending is going to take place. It's important to keep a fresh interpretation of the trope and always keep your audience in mind. Finally, we have some honorable mentions, which are horror films that were mentioned in Scary Movie but weren't hugely spoofed. We have The Shining from 1980, The Sixth Sense from 1999, The Exorcism from 1973, and Halloween from 1978. So for The Shining, we have the killer whispering red rum before killing one of the characters, and we also have this little boy who coins the term red rum in The Shining. Then we have Shorty remaking the line from A Sixth Sense, I see dead people. Here we see he's curled up with a blanket as we see the character in Sixth Sense was as he delivered the line. Then we have the girl from The Exorcism who is projectile vomiting, and we have Cindy mentioning the first time that she goes to a keg party and throws up green sludge and masturbates with a crucifix, which is another thing that happens in the film. And then finally, we have Cindy knocking the killer out of the window, and he disappears exactly like what happened in Halloween when Laurie pushes Michael Myers out of the window and he disappears. Thank you for listening.